Alright, now when it comes to laptops, the Asus ZenBook lineup has consistently been one of the most highly recommended laptops out there, and for good reason too. I mean, the ZenBook lineup usually offers a good design, a good keyboard, a good package of all the performance and the performance hardware, and is not that heavy on your pockets either. However, there have always been some areas for improvements in their laptops. Well, this right here is the Asus ZenBook 14 OLED UX3402. Now, that's a very long name, but let's just skip to the normal part, which is that this is the latest Asus ZenBook laptop, and honestly, it just manages to live on to the ZenBook legacy while also improving in a lot of key areas. Now, we've already reviewed the Space Edition of the ZenBook 14X that was launched alongside this, that you can check out from the card over here. But that, while is more of a flashy laptop, this is more of a practical consumer laptop. And trust me when I say this is probably as good as it gets. But the big question still remains, is it worth it? Let's find out. This is One from GTR and you're watching my in-depth review of the Asus ZenBook 14 OLED 2022 edition. Let's get started. Alright, so kicking things off, let's start by talking about the design here, and trust me when I say this, I am just so happy to be talking about it. I mean, just look at this back. I am so happy. You can see all of my previous ZenBook videos and you can see me ranting about that concentric circular design. I mean, ZenBook is supposed to be Asus's premium thingy, right? In comparison to the VivoBooks. But that back panel was just a massive disappointment. This, on the other hand, looks really good. I mean, the lines, the overall minimal ZenBook branding at the bottom left corner is just so premium, minimalistic, and really good. Now, it is still a fingerprint magnet and cleaning it is still a bit of hassle, but I would any day, and I mean any day, pick this over that concentric circular design. Please, I'm so happy that Asus has changed that design and I hope they continue with this one. Now, the body here is made up of aluminum alloy, which offers durability along with portability. Like seriously, the laptop weighs just 1.4 kgs and still comes with military grade protection. There are also two color options for it, and while we have the blue one with us, the all new green color looks really stunning. You also get the ErgoLift hinge here that I feel every laptop should have, because you get an ergonomic typing position along with extra space for the cooling vents. Speaking of which, the exhausts are no longer on the back side, but instead they're on the sides this time around. Personally, I don't mind that because anyway you will be keeping your mouse on the right side, so that's fine. And as far as the cooling performance and the thermal part is concerned, I will be talking about that in the performance section of this video, so stay tuned. Also, two things. One, the laptop passes the one-handed opening test. Another thing, the hinge here is a 180-degree hinge. I mean, brands advertise it, but I still haven't really found out the proper use case for it. I mean, that might just be my lack of knowledge. If you guys know a good use case for why this thing is important, please let me know down in the comments below. Now, next to the exhaust, you have a USB 3.2 Gen 2 port, while switching to the right side, you get an HDMI 2.0 port, a 3.5 headphone jack, two Thunderbolt 4 ports, and a microSD card slot, followed by a couple of LED indicators. It's still not perfect, I would say, since the back's finish could have been better to avoid fingerprints, but I mean, honestly, as an overall package, this is an excellent design. Alright, so next up, let's talk about the fantastic display that the ZenBook 14 comes with. Now, the name already tells you that this is an OLED panel, and Asus has been betting big on their OLED panels. Now, I'll be very upfront, this is probably one of the best OLED panels that I've used. And I said the same thing for when I reviewed the Space Edition, but I mean, it's true. It's basically the same panel, only that one is a touchscreen, this is not. Everything else is there on this laptop. I mean, reading off the spec sheet, you get a 14-inch 2.8K resolution OLED panel with a refresh rate of 90 Hz. In terms of color accuracy, there's 100% DCI-P3 color gamut coverage along with Pantone validation. What's more is that the panel also supports HDR. Although the panel drops down to 8-bit mode on battery consumption, you can enable 10-bit HDR when the laptop is plugged into power. Nonetheless, be it content consumption or content creation, the panel here is absolutely top-notch. Netflix looks stunning on this, and color grading images in Lightroom on this is quite a pleasant experience. Now, as far as the refresh rate is concerned, the 90Hz refresh rate definitely feels like a sweet spot for this form factor. I mean, let's be honest, you won't really be playing AAA gaming titles on this. And for the casual session of esports titles like your Valorant and Rocket League, they all feel and run very well on 90Hz. Of course, I will be talking in detail about those games in the performance section once again. But yeah, as far as the display is concerned, apart from even gaming, everything else like the overall UI, everything looks very smooth with 90Hz. And one more thing that I want to add on here is that it's not just an advantage of having a high refresh rate in terms of the visual quality, but more importantly, it becomes easier for your eyes as well because your phones are already running on high refresh rates. So if you're switching between displays with two different refresh rates, it becomes a task for your eyes. So if you have both your phone's display and your laptop display both running at a higher refresh rate, that becomes a little easier for your eyes. You also get about 550 nits of peak brightness, and as such, I did not have any major issues using the laptop outdoors. ASUS has added a plethora of safety features to ensure there's no burn into your laptop, and while you can see them on your screen right now, I will be honest, this is all theoretical right now. I mean, sure, the laptop does come pre-installed with like the dark mode enabled and certain features are there, but these things happen on the back end. At the end of the day, only a long-term review can tell you how this display will hold up in like an year or maybe 2 years in comparison to an LCD display. So right now it's too early to comment on that. Alright, so moving along, let's talk about the keyboard and the touchpad, starting off with the keyboard. Now, I'll keep things simple here. The keyboard on the ZenBook lineup has consistently been decent, and this time the key travel feels slightly better, so I do admire that. Now, the power button is a little dented, which after a while does help in distinguishing it from the delete key because it gets stored in your muscle memory. Now, it also doubles up as a fingerprint scanner for Windows Hello, which is definitely handy. What I will complain about is the touchpad here. Now, that is a common recurring theme across all ASUS laptops that I've tried. I mean, you can just look at any ASUS laptop review that I've done, especially the VivoBook and the ZenBook lineup. And the touchpad is one area that I'm always consistently complaining over, and that's the case here. Like, I do admire the fact that you get a wider touchpad here. That's nice to have. The gestures work fine for the most part, but that's about it. Now, it also doubles up as a numpad, and ASUS claims that you can use gestures even if the numpad mode is on. But the reality is that the palm rejection on this is very bad, like very, very bad. There are times where like you just don't want to use the touchpad because the palm rejection is that bad. Now, I have seen multiple times that this could have been an issue with our review unit, and everyone's mileage definitely varies, but that is one thing that I'm annoyed with ASUS. I mean, even after so many years, and ASUS is one of the pioneers when it comes to laptops, they still haven't managed to fix the touchpad issues. Like, that is one thing that I'm still not convinced with, and even if I do get an ASUS laptop that comes with a good touchpad, I always end up saying that, yeah, it's working fine on my unit, but once again, I can't wholeheartedly recommend it. And after using this touchpad, once again, ASUS has left me a little bit disappointed. Anyway, on to the webcam on this. And it's pretty decent, I would say. I mean, in terms of the picture quality, it's not that great. The color balance is decent enough. Again, not amazing or anything, but much better than most of the laptops that I've seen out there. You can get an idea of the audio quality here because the laptop supposedly comes with 4 mics with no AI noise cancellation and all of that random tech jargon, but I'll let you guys be the judge for it. As for the lighting, obviously we are shooting in studio conditions. As for the audio, you get a dual speaker setup with Dolby Atmos and tuning by Harman Kardon. Now, I don't care about the tuning part. All I care about is the audio quality, and my word, is it good. In fact, here's an audio test for you guys to check out the speaker output of these two speakers. Alright, so moving along, let's talk about the performance. Now, our unit here comes equipped with a 12th gen Intel Core i7 1260p processor, coupled with 16GB of LPDDR5 RAM, clocked at 4800 MHz. There's a 512GB PCIe 4.0 SSD, coupled with Intel Z graphics for GPU prowess. Now, in terms of benchmarks, the Asus ZenBook 14 OLED is pretty good. Now, while I don't expect anyone to be doing super intensive tasks on this, the Cinebench and 3D Mark scores should give you a fair idea of how good the 1260p processor is. In the real world, the performance is damn good. The laptop is super snappy, the SSD works fast, and the laptop handles multitasking quite well. As for gaming, I tried my hand at Valorant and Rocket League on this, and you can easily get over 100 frames on both at medium settings, although I did personally keep the frame rate locked to 90 FPS for a more stable experience. Now, two things to keep in mind that one, this isn't a gaming laptop, and secondly, those FPS were results of running the game at 2.8K resolution. I mean, if you drop down to Full HD, obviously you can get better results. But once again, like I said, this is if you're gaming on it, it'll be casual gaming, so might as well push it to the high settings. Doesn't really make a difference because you won't really be gaming for extended sessions on this laptop anyway. Realistically speaking, you will be using it for creative needs, and if you want to push it, both Photoshop and Premiere Pro work fairly well on it. Now, for Photoshop, the laptop is excellent. For Premiere, however, while you can do basic video editing on it, don't go about playing with multiple layers or doing 4K editing, because while the CPU is still decent, the GPU can only do so much there, especially considering the fact that there is no dedicated VRAM here. Now, of course, you might be curious about the thermals here, and for the most part, the thermals on the ZenBook 14 are pretty good. Now, of course, if you're doing benchmark testing like Cinebench or 3D Mark, the laptop did even touch the 98 degrees Celsius mark. But then again, it's an ultrabook, that is something that I expected it to do. But in realistic day-to-day usage or when you're using it for Photoshop, the laptop stays around 80 degrees even when you are rendering a video, which is fine. Considering the form factor, completely fine. Lastly, we have the battery life. Now, the ZenBook 14 comes with a huge 75 watt-hour battery with support for 65 watts fast charging. In my testing, the laptop easily lasted an entire workday, which includes writing emails, working on scripts, making thumbnails in Photoshop, and listening to Spotify in the background. However, the best part here is the charging, because 65 watts USB-C charging means that I can just carry a single charger for all my devices, which definitely makes things far more convenient. So, is the Asus ZenBook 14 OLED worth it? Well, our unit here as configured is priced for a little over rupees 1 lakh. And for that price, it's a really good deal. There's apart from the touchpads ghosting issues or the palm rejection issues, which also might vary on your unit, everything else on the laptop is amazing, and it's really hard to find any issues about this. For me, it's the best Windows Ultrabook at this price point, considering everything that it packs in that price factor. And well, that was it. If you found this video helpful, make sure to let us know by giving us a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel for more awesome tech content. Till then, this is Juan from GTR, and I'll see you in the next one.